you just got to get in there and do things that make you uncomfortable. And the best thing you can do is figure out how you recognize what like makes you uncomfortable and why it's making
Mm.
you uncomfortable, and then seek ways to overcome that uncomfort and start to get your hands and a grip on it.
Hello and welcome to the Pybites podcast, where we talk about Python, career, and mindset. We're your hosts. I'm Julian Sequeira.
And I am Bob Beldebos. If you're looking to improve your Python, your career, and learn the mindset for success, this is the podcast for you. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Pybites podcast. This is Julian. A quick introduction for the episode today. I am interviewing a wonderful human being named Peter Lynch. For those of you playing at home, Peter was on the Pybites podcast roughly 2 years ago. I think it was episode 18. So this episode is a special one where we check back in with Pete to see how he's been going on his journey from being a marketing director at a large conglomerate to becoming a software developer and even taking on some entrepreneurial stuff as well. So it's a really great episode. Very much enjoyed recording this with Pete. It's just he and I. Bob didn't make it. Unfortunately, I apologize. But Pete and I had some great laughs along the way. So expect a good time and enjoy the listen, and see you in a bit. Enjoy the interview. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pybites podcast. This is Julian. I am actually here with our guest today, Peter Lynch. Pete, how are you going?
Going great, thanks, Julian. It's nice to be back. It's
Yes.
like a coming home.
Nice. So yeah, well, welcome back to the Pybites podcast. We are, I am super excited to have you here because Bob bailed on us tonight, very unceremoniously, I might add, for everyone listening and watching. No, I'm kidding. Of course not. But thank you for coming back. This is a very exciting episode for me because we interviewed you like 2 years ago or something like that. And so this episode is like a follow-up to see how you've been going. But before we do that, for those of you who are listening and for our viewers on YouTube, for the people that don't know who you are, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Sure thing. So my name's Peter Lynch. I'm a software developer for a company called Envato. I'm mostly writing React and Ruby code at the moment. And that's about it for me.
That's all Pete is. That's all he is. Which is why we have him here. No, I'm sorry that you only code in React and stuff though, and there's no Python. So what are you doing on the podcast again? This podcast.
The dream is to be a Python developer.
Nice. I'm just giving crap. Well, look. So thank you for joining us again, Pete. I'm glad you didn't give away too much in the intro because that's what we're going to jump into throughout the episode. But before we begin, as we always do, we celebrate some wins. So for you being the guest, go for it. What's your win this week? Anything in particular?
Yeah, this week I'm one step closer to retirement, earning my first $100 on a side project. And it's just that hockey stick growth at the moment.
Oh, that's nice. That's very cool, man. That first $100 on your own project is just magical. You may as well just retire now. Just quit the job.
It's not going to get any better than that, is it?
Yeah, no. After that, nothing matters. No, it's cool, man, and it's infectious, right? Once you see that you're providing value and people appreciate it, from a monetary perspective, it just makes you want to keep going. Yeah,
100%. That first order was like so motivating. It was literally a $3 order, and I was like, holy crap, someone's giving me money on the internet. Like what is going on?
That is cool. I love that. That's wicked. Okay, well, before I jump in, I'll share my win quickly. This week, I don't know if I shared this last week. No, anyway, this week we had another coach begin with Pybites with PDM. After this, I have a meeting with a third new coach. So by Friday this week, we'll have 3 new coaches joining the program covering different functions for our clients. So next week's win is going to be that we're going to have our very first team meeting with all the people that work with Pybites together at once. And I'm pretty excited by that.
Pybites Incorporated.
Pybites Inc. Copyright PTY.
Big time. 3 coaches. That's awesome.
Yeah. So three more coaches. It's going to be awesome. So that's something I can't stop grinning about this week when I think about it. It's very exciting. All right. So let's jump in without further ado to give everyone some heads up. When you were last on the podcast, I think you were 6 months into quitting your full-time corporate job. You'd taken a boot camp, just correct me if I'm wrong, and you'd moved into web development. So we talked a lot about that mindset of taking the plunge, to chase something that was very different to what you were doing day to day in the corporate world, which a lot of our listener base engaged with and appreciated back in the day. So now that it's been almost 2 years, I think, almost to the month, it's been 2 years. I'd love to hear from you. What have you been doing since then? So just you get talking. I'm going to stop talking and drink from my mustache a glass of water. Go for it.
Yeah. So in the last 2 years, I've just really been focusing on developing my technical skills. So I think when I spoke to you, I was looking for my first role, networked my little butt off to get my first job. And since then, it's just been head down, sort of bump, getting better at development. One good thing is that when I came into the organization, I wasn't just like a junior developer. I was in the technical sense, but I had the ability to work within an organization and work with other people because I have a career before development. So I think that really helped out. Like I knew how to communicate to my product manager and things like that. And so that let me really just focus on the tech. And since then, I've been promoted to the next level of engineering.
Wow.
I feel a lot more confident, and every day I sort of realize how much more I know, because you go from a boot camp and you're working on your own little code base to this like massive code base with several repos, and you've got to be across them all, and then the context switching and things like that. It really fried me for a while. I think there was, a lot of time there that I wasn't doing anything but working 9 to 5 and then being exhausted at the end of the day. And I've sort of recently just started coming out of that and feeling like I have the energy to do things after work.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no, that's cool. So one, congratulations. You said you've been promoted. That's amazing. Great to hear that in what, the first 1.5 to 2 years. That's amazing. And so there's a few things I wanted to poke at. So obviously everyone watching and listening, we have zero agenda. I just wanted to talk with Pete. So I'm coming up with these on the fly, and Pete, you're answering these on the fly. So you mentioned the networking piece. If you could think back, I know that was a year and a half ago, the networking piece, the job hunt is something that a lot of people that we come across with find very difficult, challenging, scary, So if you were to give one piece of advice from your experience doing that, that led you to getting the job, what would that be?
One piece of advice.
You said networking your butt off, right? But
yeah,
just anything more specific. What does it look like?
Yeah, I think around networking, right? Like everyone has this idea that networking is like walking into a room full of people and going around and shaking hands and awkwardly talking to people. And I think that kind of networking sucks because everyone's there doing the exact same thing. And so that's not the networking I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like going on something like LinkedIn, looking at my current connections finding companies that I want to work for or companies that have openings, and then looking and saying, do I have any like second degree connections, third, that I can like reach out to the person I know to say, hey, can you introduce me to this person? I think I'd be a great fit at their company and they're hiring for these reasons. And then it's just setting up like a video chat or asking some questions over email. So the advice there is don't think of networking as like what people would tell you it is. It's whatever you want it to be, but the aim is like just forming connections. Don't go in there thinking you're going to get a job or that they should help you, but find out if it is a job that you want, and then, build rapport with that person. And then, keep following up. It might not be this job, it might be the next one, but it's just about building relationships over time. So it's slow and it sucks when you start because you're broke, you want a job, you just want to start putting the skills you've learned into practice. But it's a slow burn, unfortunately.
That's a nice dose of reality, because I think a lot of people who have the skill set think that it should be a quick thing, and that if it isn't, then it's imposter syndrome. They're the ones that suck. They're the ones that the problem is them. They're not getting a job because they're not good at what they do. They bombed this. They can't, and especially when you never hear back from a contact or a recruiter after applying, right? Not many places will follow up. And, it's very easy to feel like you're the problem. But I think what I love from what you're saying is that it'll happen. You just got to have that grit and determination to keep pushing and keep reaching out to that network. It's also a nice reminder, Pete, that your network can be anyone. So I see a lot of people with LinkedIn profiles that don't have a lot of connections. That's okay. But if that's because you're afraid of connecting with people, don't think of it like Facebook and Instagram, where you kind of really want to know who it is that you're connecting with. If you meet someone at a party, by all means, reach out to them on LinkedIn and connect and say, hey, I think it'd be cool to connect professionally, because you're not sharing stuff like pictures of your kids and birthday parties and stuff on LinkedIn. This is it can be a very professional network. So, don't be afraid to grow it. I like that. All right. So you've got the job. It immediately was a culture shock from what you're expecting. Elaborate on that. What you mentioned the repo that you're working on stuff, but for the people, and frame this from a perspective of people coming in, they're landing their first developer job. What hit you in the face like a truck? What got you?
Like things they don't teach you is like code reviews, like having your code reviewed, how to review someone else's code, ways of working, like, I don't know, picking up work, moving it through the board, things like that. I don't think anything can sort of really prepare you for that. And that was a real shock. Like, I had no idea how to review someone else's code because I'm barely writing good code. And then, you're expected to get in there and review code. So that was quite a shock. What really helped there was doing pairing during reviews. Or having the person that's written the code do a walkthrough, and you get your chance to sort of ask questions there. There's nothing worse. You go in, you review someone's code, you go, yeah, it looks fine. Looks good to merge. Yeah. And then the next person comes in and goes, F this, F that, this is wrong. Like, we need to change this. And you're sitting there like, oh, look good to me.
I just approve that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just stuff like that is, I come from marketing and also different personalities, I think in different industries, different people are attracted to different industries, and just navigating that a little bit. It's a bit of a culture shock as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. I appreciate that. I think, the whole different personalities thing, I feel like that's everywhere that you're going to go. You're going to hit that. I certainly hit that through my career a few times. But now I would be doing everyone a disservice if I didn't say this, and I know everyone listening to this is going to start groaning like, oh, here we go. Here he goes. Here he goes. But the stuff that was a shock to you, and by the way, everyone, this was not pre-planned, but this is how my mind's working. That's the stuff that we actually coach people through in PDM in our coaching program. So when they obviously it's Python based, not front end based like you're talking, but when people get through the program, they're learning the code review process. They're getting their code scrutinized. They're sometimes arguing why they're making code choices in their code pull requests with their coach. And there's that discussion period there. So they're getting that experience. They've created a whole bundle of issues, and they're choosing which ones to focus on given the time restraints and all these sorts of things. So it's kind of nice actually to hear that was something that hit you as a professional software developer, because to me, it reinforces that what we're doing with people actually does set them up for that success when they join a team and they're like, oh yeah, I did this with my coach. That's cool. I get it. So we'll have to just get into front end coaching soon, one day.
It's all the same. It's,
yeah.
You know, if you're reviewing Python or you're reviewing JavaScript, it's the same things matter. Like, and one thing, I don't know if you teach this, but like one really good thing I learned is like, just phrase stuff as a question. Like, you don't come out guns blazing, right? Like, you just go out and say like, is this this the pattern we usually use or something like that? And you know, I think it sounds condescending as I say it now, but like it reads well. Because sometimes people are just like, oh yeah, shit. I don't know if I can swear, but
yeah, you can swear, it's fine.
Yeah, they go, you know, oh yeah, damn, I missed that. Yeah, you know, but if you were to say, oh, come on, man, this pattern, like, you know, this, like, or this, we use this pattern as like, doesn't read as well. So yeah, that's the other thing.
But to be fair, that's a sign of maturity on your part and professionalism, and also coaching, right? That's you being a great teammate and coach and senior in that respect, because the people who know how to nurture their teams will approach things from a place of growth as opposed to stomping on their dreams and souls, you know. So that's really cool. I love that you do that. It's also a reminder of how I talk to my children. Is that how we behave when someone says no? I don't know. You tell me. You know. So I love that. Okay, so before I've got one more question before we move into the side stuff that we touched on at the start. Now that you've been in there for a while and you've been promoted, that initial wave of you know, just all these things hitting you and it was all new to you. Do you feel like you've worked through it? And if you have, how long do you feel that took, and what helped you work through all of that stress and difference and culture shock?
I feel like I'm probably through the worst of it, but it's you always want, you know, the elastic band like analogy, like you always want to be like stretching just to the point that you're not going to break, but it's stretching, right? So yeah, I don't want to ever be like through it. Like I always want to be like growing and feeling uncomfortable. And if I'm not, that I realize pretty quick, like, all right, I got to find some stuff that's going to challenge me. But to get through it, there's no shortcut. Like, it's just time, and like everyone's different. Like, but then eventually you just start putting pieces. I think of it like this: it's like your brain is like a puzzle, and you're just like gradually adding pieces, and then it like forms up, and it's like you've completed the puzzle, and you've sort of like locked that knowledge in. It just takes a while, and eventually things that used to take you 30 minutes take you 10, and then that lets you move on to the next level and take like the harder thing. So yeah, you just got to get in there, like, and do things that make you uncomfortable. And the best thing you can do is figure out how you recognize what like makes you uncomfortable and why it's making you uncomfortable, and then seek ways to overcome that uncomfort and you know, start to get your hands and a grip on it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome advice. I really like that. And I like that rubber band or elastic band analogy. That's really cool. Keep yourself pushing, stretching. And I think it's important to remember discomfort. There's two sides to that coin. There's the discomfort of growth, which is cool. Like, hey, I still find public speaking kind of daunting, but I've got to keep putting myself in those uncomfortable situations to smash that out of me. But if you're uncomfortable because someone's being rude to you or something, that's a bit different. So yeah, it's important you find that line between the two types of discomfort. But I love what you're talking about, just that idea of pushing and to keep seeking that growth because it keeps you learning. And I think it's also a great thing for everyone to remember as you're doing that, reflect back on where you came from. So as you said, something that would take you 30 minutes before now only takes you 10. You have to have that self-reflection to go back and say, oh yeah, now only takes me 10, which means I'm growing and I'm freaking awesome. So I'm really, I love hearing that sort of thing. So keeping time in mind, I want to spend a bit of time on this now. So on top of your job, you also have some entrepreneurial interests, which I think we touched on last time as well. But talk to me about that. What are you doing in that space? What are you doing outside of work? What's got you working late into the night?
Yeah, helpful to give a bit of context. So like when I quit my last job and went into this, like I wrote this blog post about how I was doing it because I wanted to build my own things, and like I was sick of being told what to do and what to build. And I'm still like that. So I like development, but development, I don't particularly love code reviews and whiteboards and, retros and all of those sort of things. Like I don't really enjoy working in a big organization because it's like I've got some jerk CEO that like doesn't know me from a bar of soap and like telling us what to do. And then we have, tech's had all these layoffs, and the people that lead you to these layoffs are the ones that are still in charge. And you're like, how does this work? So I'm like jaded by that. So I want to forge a way for me not to have to be involved in that. And so one of the ways to do that is to build your own things and make, money from that rather than just relying on income. So what I've done is I've gone to 4 days a week at work. So
nice.
Like Invito's cool, don't get me wrong. Bit of hyperbole in the way I speak. But so Invito's cool. They're like, yeah, go for 4 days, no worries. And then so I treat that day like a work day, and I just get up and like I start working away on my side projects. And so this year I'm aiming to do 6. And the reason I'm focusing on, say, like 6 projects rather than like one big one is I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I don't want to spend 6 months building something. No one wants it. I've wasted 6 months. So what I want to do is just like build quickly, just write rubbish code for an MVP and just get it out there and see if people want it. And then if they don't, cool. I haven't lost that much time.
Yeah.
And I can like move on to the next thing. So the first thing I launched, no one wanted, which is like this website that like combined 2 words to help you find like domain names, because I was having that problem with like side businesses. Like it's like Facebook, Gumroad, smashing 2 words together. So I was calling it like domain name smash. We smashed 2 words together. Made a wicked website. It's still up. If anyone listens to this, go have a look. It's got sounds on it. It's awesome. It's cool. A passion. It was a labor of love. But now I'm focusing on building mobile applications. So I've just built a app for Apple devices that lets you get cool new watch faces for your Apple Watch. And I generate all the watch faces using Stable Diffusion. So all the images are AI generated.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's cool because I'm not a designer. I didn't want to have to learn those skills. And, recently AI has unlocked this ability for me to use my skill as a developer and then combine that with like generative AI and it's like, it's just it's not even a CRUD app. It's like a read app, and it's just like you read the watch faces, and I don't have to like worry about authentication or anything like that. And that's the one that I've just started making money on. So that's good. There's a little bit of validation there.
Man, that is super cool. I really, really love that idea. Yeah, I don't think it was that robust when you first told me about it and how it worked. But yeah, the fact that it's using AI really excites me, because I hope this inspires people that you can use AI to do things to fill the gaps in your portfolio, right? And it's not even a gap, but more so something that you just don't care about. Like, I struggle with design because I just don't have that bone in my body. So that's what would normally, once upon a time, have stopped me from tackling, say, a project like that. But it's really cool that you're able to loop that in to take that pressure off you, which I think is incredible. So again, congratulations on that, the iOS app for the watch faces. That's incredible. And just to go back to what you were saying, I think that that approach of just shipping it, just getting to an MVP and letting people test it, that is the perfect way of, validating a product idea that you had. Because, I mean, people can sit there for months and years on end doing market research to find an idea, right? And I think that's quite difficult, because which ones do you settle on? Which ones do you want to chase, right? But if you have an idea, I think the lesson that I really like here is just run with it. And if doesn't seem to land, like the domain smash. By the way, you have to give me the URL to put in the show notes, because I want to check it out as well after this. I was going to open up a tab and I thought, no, I should focus on this podcast. But I really love that. You just, next one, don't let it demotivate you, that it didn't sort of take off like it could have, or that you wanted it to. Move on, try the next thing. And it's like Tim Ferriss, all those podcasts that we've listened to over the years, where they say, oh yeah, for every successful product we have like 20 failures, I say with quotes, So I love that, man. And what keeps you going? Because you're working the day job as well. You probably do a little bit after hours on a normal weekday. And then on the fifth day of the week that you have full time on it, you're going hell for leather on that. So what keeps you going?
Keeps me going.
Is it that dream that you spoke about to preface all of this, to just get to be your own boss and not have to be reliant on someone else?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's like you've got to be motivated, but motivation can come from anywhere. And there's times you're not going to be motivated and you need to keep going. So yeah, I think that long range target, definitely, for sure. Like, I think about what sort of life do I want to live? It's like, the negative motivator. Like, I think about, would I regret more if I didn't have a go at this? I think I might have said this the last time I was on, but I have this thing where I'm like, on my deathbed, like, what am I going to regret? Am I going to regret that I like worked nights and like had to go at like trying to live a life that I want to live? Or will I regret that I like didn't focus on my 9 to 5 and like did what everyone told you to do? And I think it's the other one. And so I just try and think of that, and that's really motivating. And I think, what else? Looking at other people is quite motivating, keeps me going. Like, looking at you and Bob and Julian, I still read Pybites, even though I'm not like writing Python. I read your email. I find that quite motivating. Stuff like that. You just need little bits here and there that are just going to juice you up and keep you going. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That deathbed thing I say all the time. I think I've said it multiple times on this podcast. Will I regret standing here at 9:30 p.m. on a Wednesday night talking with you, or will I regret sitting on the couch watching Netflix for 3 hours. Yeah, I think I'll regret one more than the other. So, no, I love that. That's awesome. And okay, so with that, you're going to give me links. I want everyone listening to this to check out Pete's iOS app. I know it's not in Python, everyone. I know. I'm sorry. I forgot Pete moved on from Python when I invited him to come and talk. I'm kidding. But because I find your story so motivating. I find it so inspirational. I think a lot of people listening to this and watching this dream of being able to do what you do, right? And I think that's why I really love where you've gone. It's the small steps, right? This wasn't an overnight thing. This has been a couple of years now of real effort and growth and balance and chipping away at the day-to-day corporate machine type things slowly over time, which is what I think is super relatable. If you were to give one last bit of advice to anyone listening to this who wants to go on the same path as you, what would it be?
Yeah, I just like I'm doing it. I'm not a good developer. I was a crappy marketer. The key, you just got to have a go. Like there's so many people, there's so many opportunities out there, and it's like if you just have a go, you'll find them. So I procrastinated on going part-time. I was like, the money, this and that. And then I just said one day, like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Like, I want to do other things. So like, why, if I'm doing this one thing, but I'm saying another thing. So like, it's just like recognizing that. So know what you want and then just like go after it. Like, don't, like Julian said, Netflix will always be there and you can watch those shows years down the track, but you only get one shot at giving it your all in life, and you should just give it a go. Like, just do it. Just do it.
No, I love it, man. That's a great message. I think just give it a go. You got to say that with a really Australian accent. Oh, just give it a go, mate. I think that's a really nice message, because I think that's the hardest step for people, is to just change that habit, that, not to get too political, that's been indoctrinated in us from childhood, going through a schooling system that doesn't actually teach us what we need to know for life. And now I'm getting too political, so I'll stop. But you know,
can I say something on that?
No, you can't. Yes, of course you can.
You're right. You're 100% right. Like, I remember telling my parents I was going part-time, and I telling my parents that I was going on development, and they're like, "You're crazy. Like, you went to uni, you like studied this, like you've got the good job, like you've won at life, like you're getting promoted all the time. Like, what are you doing?"
Yep.
And I'm like, I do not like. Do you, mum and dad? Do you think like your life's been awesome? Like, do you love like the job you had for the last 30 years? No, I hated it. Then why are you telling me to do the same thing?
Do the same thing.
Yeah. There's no silver bullet. Like, you're never going to feel ready. People are going to look at you like you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you got to just flip it and look at them and say, like, you're crazy. Like, you're the crazy one. You're the one also sitting here telling me work sucks. You wish you could do this. Like, just do it. Do it.
Just do it. That's a really interesting perspective. It got me thinking, right? That perspective is that my parents, as an example to match yours, is that they also feel the same way. They, even after almost 7 years of Pybites now, they're still scared of the idea of, but you're running your own business. You're not just working for a company. They still have that mentality. But they never had that opportunity to have information at their fingertips with AI and the internet and all this stuff that we do. We can build businesses from anywhere on this planet. They couldn't. So I get that. On the flip side, you've got kids growing up like my kids who have information overload and can get whatever they want anywhere, anytime. And so for them, the idea of working a 9 to 5 job, like, I feel like needs to be drilled into them, as opposed, because life can be so flexible for them. they can see that anything is possible. And yeah, now I'm getting very political. Society's going to try and mold them into the confines of working on a production line for the rest of their life. I think this generation coming up is going to be one of the ones that actually says, and that's why this whole return to office thing, I think, is such a hot debate. And it's kind of funny. The people I see arguing against it, so arguing for it, saying, "Oh, but we should be in the office." A lot of them are the people who kind of worked those traditional roles their entire lives. Their life was working in an office. The people who are against it are the ones. A lot of them are the ones that have gone, "The world's changed. Get over it, mate." So I'm going to leave that one there because I know it's a very touchy subject. I must stop ranting. But Pete, thank you so much for being here. I know you and I can chat for ages. So for context, everyone as well, Pete and I have caught up for beers on multiple occasions now. So we can chat for donkey's years. But we'll call it there. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story with me, Pete, and with everyone listening, of course. This isn't just for me. What are you reading? Let's do a book quickly.
I'm reading it's pronounced the mom test.
The mom.
Okay. MOM, mom. Like the mom test. Because it's about idea validation. So the whole thing is like you go and you go to your parents, you go like, "I've got the best app idea in the world, mum and dad." And they're gonna say like, "Oh yeah, it's great. Like, you're such a genius, little Peter." But it's about getting past that and actually finding out if an idea is good and like worth building and how to do that. Which is something I have no idea how to do. So good skill to learn.
Nice. Did you, out of curiosity, did you share that with Bob recently?
I might have. I often reply to the Pybites emails, and I think is it Bob that runs it? Because I feel like it's always Bob that replies, and you just
we both reply. It's just I dog you. Yeah, I don't reply to you. If it's you, I move it straight to trash. So no, because I swear it was Bob that just told me he was reading the mom test, and I was like,
"Yeah, you gotta say it like that.
You gotta say the mom, not the mom.
The mom, mommy." I'm sure a lot of your listeners are American. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure like 90% of everyone listening to this has just got totally offended by what we just
nailed
did.
That.
So
nailed that American accent.
Nailed that American accent. So if you dislike that American accent, please subscribe to this podcast so you can keep giving us that feedback.
The way you can get back at me is by going to my app and leaving a 5-star review. That is how you get back at me.
That's the greatest revenge you can give.
Yeah, nothing will disappoint me more.
Nice. I love it. All right. I won't even go into what I'm reading because I don't remember what I'm reading. I think it's still the same thing I was reading last week. I'm not like Bob who can... All right, let me say Bob, like I said, mom. Bob. It's not like Bob who reads like 10... Bobby who reads 10 books a week. So I'm still reading the same thing. I think it was The Psychology of Money mixed in with my Marvel Unlimited subscription. So there's a whole new Guardians of the Galaxy comic book series from this year that I'm reading. So there you go, mixing it up. Pete, a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for being here. I love it. Any last words before we jump?
I'll be back in a year, and I promise I'll be writing Python code because I'll probably be doing some AI stuff with Python.
Nice. No, I think accountability-wise, I want to hear I'll be back in a year and I'll be working for myself full time. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that.
Yeah, I like that. Let's put a time box it.
Yeah, time box it. Everyone listening, watching, you heard it. Pete committed to that, so we'll have to see how we go. All right. Thank you, Pete. Peter Lynch, everyone. Make sure you check out the links below. We'll have his website. We'll have the links to the apps he's created and Domain Smash, which I can't wait to check out. And thank you as always for watching, listening, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. To hear more from us, go to Pybites/friends. That is pybit.es/friends and receive a free gift just for being a friend of the show.
And to join our thriving Slack community of Python programmers, go to pybites/community. That's pybit.es/community. We hope to see you there and catch you in the next episode.